It is Bulldogs one-on-one from a bit of a distance, but that's all right because we are so excited to welcome somebody that I know very well from a number of years around the mixed martial arts world to the Brantford Bulldogs, one of our new directors of player development. It is Adrian the Wolf, and I'll spare you the howl, Vilaca. Adrian, it's fantastic to have you, and it's great to be working with you.
Well, likewise. Yeah, fortunately, my MMA career didn't pan out the way I hoped. Otherwise, maybe I wouldn't be sitting here right now. But nonetheless, we're excited to be a part of the Dogs.
Hey, 8-3 as a pro. You did just fine, my friend. And I know that you trained under some of the very, very best, including Josh Hill, Lyndon Whitlock, a number of those guys over the years. But that's kind of where this story picks up for you becoming a strength and conditioning guy. Because you really ended up getting involved more so in the training in the gym, and that's where your passion really came in. What has led you to coming on with the Bulldogs?
I've had an amazing opportunity to be a part of Gary Roberts' performance for over a decade now. I think we're going on year 13 this coming summer. And so even as a little kid, I was always obsessed with this idea of training and development. So if I watched a movie, I would love the training montage. So you've got like the iconic Rocky scenes where he goes off to the mountain. And that became something that was a kind of like a core memory for me as a kid. Had some great mentors along the way. And then as I was fighting, the passion for training was mostly selfish and personal. And so through that, I ended up working at Gary's initial gym down in the city. And as we've grown, the opportunities have grown. So obviously Zach Hyman, one of the new members of the ownership group, Brantford, has become a very close friend of ours and a client of ours for, I guess, 3 or 4 years now. He's come up on his 4th summer, I believe, since he left Toronto. And that relationship and an opportunity to work together and kind of see the level of professionalism that he brings each and every day led to this opportunity. And so obviously we're extremely excited to be with Brantford. I think that the Hyman family and the entire ownership and executive group there is really going to turn into the very best place to play junior hockey. And so how could we pass, really?
Now, Adrian, in saying that, when you look at how you started out, how did you meet up with Gary Roberts initially?
So this is a bit of a funny story. I needed to do an internship for my schooling, my kinesiology degree. And so in somewhat typical fashion, I had left the application process a little late. A lot of the positions that I was looking for were filled up. And there was one in Ottawa that was an old application. I thought I had nothing to lose at that point, tossed my name in the ring, so to speak. And the gentleman there, Lauren Goldenberg, he said yes. They didn't have an intern for that summer. I came out there. Lauren's an old school strength coach. And when I say old school, I don't mean in terms of methodology, just he's been around the game for a long, long time. One of the pioneers really in Canada. And he had been Gary's strength and conditioning coach when Gary was still playing. And so through that connection, Lauren introduced me to Gary. There was a job opportunity in Toronto, and I knew that the MMA scene in Toronto was significantly more developed than Sault Ste. Marie, and that was really the catalyst. I mean, if I'm being completely truthful, I didn't really know who Gary was initially, which is funny to think about now. I played hockey as a Northern Ontario boy, but it certainly wasn't a deep passion for me in the same way that fighting was. And so at coming down, he was just a pretty jacked dude that had a gym and had a lot of good athletes, and I was pretty fortunate to share the room with some incredible players back then. I mean, Connor McDavid, which is a name that everyone knows. If you think about hockey, it is almost synonymous with McDavid. We got to have the same first week in the gym together. And so him as the athlete, myself as a young coach, and we've walked this journey together over the last 12 years. So it's been pretty fun.
In talking about the guys that you've worked with, Connor McDavid, obviously, I think everybody's heard that name before, and he and Zach Hyman, they might have a bit of a friendship struck up, I think, by this point. How long did it take you to notice? Obviously, you knew right away who Connor McDavid was and some of the players you had been working with, but how long did it take for you to find out who exactly Gary Roberts was in 1989 Stanley Cup champion and 2-time OHL champion and all the other things he's done?
Well, yeah, it took about 30 seconds, and then I walked into the gym for an interview, and I had this was a different life. So I had a McDonald's coffee cup in my hand. It was just coffee. It wasn't soda pop. But as I walked in the door, before he even shook my hand, he took the cup and just dropped it into the garbage. And he's like, "We don't drink that here, son." So that was my first Gary Roberts introduction. it was evident right from the start that we were going to have a bit of a militant approach to training and nutrition, which I loved, truthfully.
Yeah, you talk about falling in love with the training, and Gary Roberts is obviously known for being the trainer, and you being a part of that staff. What was it like adjusting to Gary's way of doing things? Because just from working with Noah Roberts over a number of years, I saw a lot of what Gary had instilled in him, and man, they know how to take care of themselves.
Yeah, I think it's a combination. I mean, I think what Rob's taught me most of all was what it was like to be a pro. And so obviously I wasn't competing in the sport of hockey. I was competing in mixed martial arts at the time, but there's a lot of parallels between those two things, right? The way that you carry yourself, the way that you show up, the way that you show up prepared, the work that you do outside of the rink itself or outside of the cage, all of those things were really, really important. So I credit Gary as being a mentor of mine, truthfully. And so it was amazing to be able to go from, that position where I'm a young strength coach and a mentor to the position now where we have a business partnership together and we're building a brand new facility and we're coming into this relationship with the Bulldogs. So really, it's been inspiring to watch his journey. And if you see him today, you can tell that he still approaches life in the exact same way. Performance is something that is not reserved just for when you're playing pro hockey. It's for all of life, and he continues to walk the walk. So,
Adrian, what was the first time that you heard about potentially coming on board with the Bulldogs, and what was your first thoughts when the Brantford Bulldog opportunity came up?
Yeah, the first time it was probably about a year ago now, like maybe a little less, 6-7 months, when there were rumblings around the change in ownership and the Hyman family coming over, and we were just excited. Truthfully, I think junior hockey is an area that we're really passionate about. Our gym, you can't hear it right now, thankfully, but we had 20 players that play in the Ontario Hockey League or Tier 2 junior or in college hockey just inside of the facility 20 minutes ago, getting after it and getting better. And so it's always been something that we've been really passionate about. I think when you look at hockey on the whole globally, we're starting to lose the arms race a little bit in a lot of regards. If you look at the World Juniors and the performances through there, and I don't think it's that we're producing worse hockey players. I just think that other countries are getting better.
Yep.
And they've got great development models, and you look at the U.S. and anything that the U.S. does as it pertains to athletics, they are happy to deploy resources against it. And so looking at that landscape, knowing that we're going to be in this business and we're going to be in the business of hockey and Canadian sports for the next 20, 30, 40 years, we wanted an opportunity to make an impact at a grassroots level. And, that starts in junior hockey. If you can take these kids at 15, 16, 17, teach them what it means to be a pro, develop these habits, and give them an opportunity to step up and jump into the lineup if they do get that call. And so the kids that are with us for 4, 5, 6 years, when we look at them compared to their counterparts who have only just started to train, they're worlds apart in that component. And so if an NHL team taps on you, you're having a good season, you go up to join the AHL club, for example, at the end when they head into the playoffs, we want players that work with us to be able to step right into that role. We want to decrease the shock factor as much as possible, and that starts with being involved year-round with a junior program.
You really started to lean into my next question, Adrian, in that we look at the development of players physically, and it's the number one thing that you hear around the junior world when people start talking about, is this player ready to go to the next level? Are they physically ready for the grind of 80 games, 82 games, a playoff run? How important is that to instill when a player is 15, 16 years old, when you first get them into a junior hockey environment, an OHL environment, to say, okay, you've got to learn how to treat your body the right way, how to build your body, and how much emphasis should be put on that versus the skill side?
I think that so habits are paramount, right? We need to develop habits. We need to get players into routines so that they don't have to expend a ton of mental energy to execute on these things. And so that starts, the younger the better, and the more frequent the better. And I know that Brantford's got a great staff, and Luke's there already, and he's doing a great job, and we're just coming in to help support on that. But, he's got an opportunity to have great touch points with the kid on a daily basis and really set the habits. So I think extremely important. And then when you think about development, right, there's kind of 4 quadrants that go into it. And then it's all wrapped under a health umbrella. So you've got physical, psychological, technical, tactical. And so skills, for example, is predominantly a technical, tactical component. It's like, okay, well, can I make a pass? Can I receive a pass in the backhand? Can I shoot the puck? And then do I understand where players are in space? And so I think when we look at a development model and Brantford, it's checking off on all of those boxes. But I would say that we're fortunate in that a physical deficit can be made up significantly quicker than some of these other areas. You see kids coming into the league, they're all extremely skilled. They all know how to play the game. They've got good hockey IQ, and this is an area that they're lagging in, and we want to make sure that that's not the limiting factor for them. So you got to be on top of it. You got to be on top of it frequently, and it's just got to become part of what you do. No different than brushing your teeth each and every day.
That's a great point. Adrian, you're not even an old guy, and you've already accomplished a ton through what you've done in the MMA world and into the training world. Do you ever look back at the kid from Sault Ste. Marie and kind of go, wow, I'm working with Gary Roberts now?
Yeah. I think I try not to too often because I still can't believe it. But I think it is good to be happy but not satisfied. And so I think even in this relationship, that's what we're looking for. I mean, Brantford had a good season. I think they're happy, but they're certainly not satisfied. They want more. We want more. So I'm fortunate and blessed to be here, but we're just getting started.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think all the Brantford fans want to hear. You'll have good company as well. Nick Rossetto had a great rookie season with the Bulldogs this year.
He did. Good
Sault Ste. Marie guy. So is that going to help a bit? You got a brethren to step in with?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the Sioux's got a great hockey culture. Obviously Wayne played there back in the day. There's a handful of active players. Brian Rust married a girl from there. He calls Sault Ste. Marie home now. Darnell Nurse has a tie. His wife is from the Sioux. Ty Cartier, who's with the Seattle Kraken, he was in last week. His girlfriend's from the Sioux from his time playing there. And so I think when you meet a Siouxite outside of that world, it's easy to find a common bond pretty quickly. So I'm looking forward to spending some time with the kid and just hearing about his family and where they live and the places that they like to visit back home, definitely.
In talking about spending time with the players, how often are you expecting to be in the building here in Brantford?
We'll be out there all the time. Yeah, we'll be out there. Yeah, I'd expect us to be there 3-4 days a week. Obviously the team travels, and so how often we go on the road, I'm not 100% sure, but we'll have a lot of touch points. It's going to become a second home for us. So I'm looking forward to it. And my kids will love the games. It's a great atmosphere, great energy. I got 2 little ones. I'm excited to bring them to the games, get them swagged up, and have them cheer along. And so I think that's what it's all about.
We've already got you started with the hat. We got to get the kids on board now as well.
We'll get some swag for the little ones.
Get kids, you get the parents. And I know how that goes. Adrian, it's going to be great to have you on board. I know you talked about our strength coach, Luke, earlier on, and the relationship that you guys are going to have. Luke did an incredible job this season. Now with the added resources that he's going to have, I know he's excited. I was talking to him earlier today. How much fun is it to be able to include a guy like that who is a former OHLer, who's got a background, I know has a gym in this area, to be able to collaborate all you guys together? It's got to be a bit of fun.
Yeah, at the end of the day, relationships are what matter most in this industry, right? And so if you want to get an athlete to the next level, you need buy-in from the whole team, and I think that's a big driver behind what we do. In HQ at Gary Roberts Performance, we've got a great team. And it's going to be the exact same in Brantford. So I'm looking forward to spending some time in the trenches with him, getting to know him better, drawing on his lessons both as a player and as a coach. And he knows the players. He's got to spend some time with them. He's got to go through some ups and downs, and that matters a lot. And so we're as much as we hope to teach, we're going to learn just as much coming back the other way. I have no doubt.
Adrian, thank you so much for the time. I just want to let you give a shout out to the fans here in Brantford, because it doesn't matter, staff, player, from the coaches all the way on through. The fans want to get to know everybody that's involved with this team, and I'm sure you and Gary are going to hear it as well. Let the fans know how excited you are to be coming in, and do you have a message for them on the way?
Oh, just wait. That's it. You haven't seen anything yet. This is going to become the #1 junior organization in the country, and we're excited to be a part of that, and we're excited to have each and every one of you there and cheering, and it's an electric environment, and it's going to continue to be so for a long, long time. So thank you.
Adrian Vilaca just gave us our #1 clip for a recruitment video. Adrian, thanks so much for the time. I'm so excited to be working with you again. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, the next one will be in person, I promise.
All right, sounds great. Thanks so much.
Take care.